Good morning, everybody. We appear to be back. We appear to be ready to go live. I have a squeaky chair. And it's Halloween. Good morning, everybody. I'm really high. There we go. I don't like the idea of being that high. I hope you are all well this morning. It's Halloween. It's October the 31st. All those spooks and ghosts giving you the willies and giving you the ghoulies. Now, we were going to do something special with masks and wigs and things like that, but for some reason the green screen decides to take our heads off. So, unfortunately, you are left with this horror story in front of your eyes. Now, some of you might think I've got come to bed eyes. No, I've got go to bed eyes. That's the difference. And we're going to have a good day today. We're going to be talking about all things crypto-y. It's Halloween, but it's not going to be a Halloween theme. We did that on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin. Where are we going to go? We're going to be talking about Trump and Z. We're going to talk about Fusaka, the Ethereum upgrade. We're going to be talking about Sol, ETFs. We're going to be talking about Hype again. We're going to be talking about the ETNs in the UK. People like, I think KB is in the UK. People in the UK will be able to take advantage of ETNs, very similar to ETFs. We're going to talk about WOOZSD. WOOZSD. I don't know how else to pronounce that. That's what we're going to go with. That's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to have some X-Files, and we're going to have some charts. Now, I know where we are, and I know where things look like they're going. But what do I always say? When we look like we're going to the moon, we go to Scunthorpe. When we look like we're going to Lincoln, we go somewhere nice in Somerset. That's a little UK joke for you there. It's never in the direction that everybody says. Okay? Now, there's so much news to go through, so many positive things. If you think that crypto is finished because we've had a red October, you've got another thing coming. Now, a few good mornings to everybody in chat before we begin. We have Mags, good morning to you, sir. We have the GOAT, I believe, is in chat. We have KB in chat. I think I saw Hidden Agendas may also be in there. And this, yes, you did miss the Halloween special. You missed it. It was, well, you had old people complaining, and you had young people complaining, and you had the bears complaining. And when everybody complains, you know that's a good stream. Okay, my job is not to be nice. My job is not to be likable. My job is to be here. I am here. You know, we will see a lot of people not be here if we go down to 90,000. We will see people who've got, you know, broken arms and broken legs, or they can't do a stream today because they've got a little bit of a sniffle. I'm here. I am like the present father. I am here through the good times, and I'm here through the bad times. I don't even know what you think. It's not what you think. I've asked a question, a poll question today. Is the bottom in? I don't mean is the bottom in of the entire price action of Bitcoin. I mean, is the local bottom in? I think we came down to 106,000, something like that. I think the bottom's in. But we're going to get on and have a look at the charts now. Anyway, Bitcoin is coming in just under $110,000. Anyone would think it's over. We're down 1.2% in a week. That's it. Ethereum is down below $4,000. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. BNB is still holding on to $1,000. A little bit like a cat in a cartoon hanging onto the edge of that cliff, just waiting for a dog to come along and stand on its toes and bring it down. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen with BNB. XRP is at $2.50. Again, I'm not too disappointed with that, considering where we are. Solana at a 187. Where is this $5,000 Solana we were promised when the ETF went live? That hasn't come to pass. That's not a surprise either. Tron, under 30 cents. I'm not a fan of Tron. Hype at $44. Anything, didn't I say anything under 40-something dollars for Hype was a good price to get that in as? There is a report that didn't make the stream today, which shows you the total volume by platform, and Hype is making more money than pretty much everything else put together. So now the question is it going to continue to do that over the next 2 or 3 years? Probably not, because I remember the same kind of chart was showing us Pump.Fun was making more money than everything else, making more money than Apple at one point. And of course, that's kind of calmed down a little bit. I think hype might come down. I think we're in that kind of like James Wynn kind of alternate reality where people, no matter how many times they get wrecked, they're still using hype. Chainlink is at $17 off. Has built, is it Sergey Nazarov? One of the best projects in crypto. It's not even in the top 10. Technically, it's in the top 10 if we remove stablecoins, but it's not in the top 10 that I'm showing you now. That hurts my soul. I've got massive conviction in Chainlink. I don't even know whether we should be looking at the gainers or losers. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of coins. Zcash is up. Aero, Dome, Finance, anything under $1 is a steal. Aero is at $1.08. That's up 33% in 7 days. That's one of the bouncers. I've told you, and I keep telling you, and I don't hold it because I don't want to hold everything, but Aerodrome is the project on base. And we all know where that's going to go. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to go to $10. Certainly not. Probably be lucky if it gets to $2 or $3 in this bull run. But still, when it goes to 60 cents, 50 cents, whatever it might be, it's always going to go back over $1. Even in these times, okay, the end of days, it's over $1. Humanity is at 28 cents. Dash is up. Memecore, Bitenza, Virtuals is up. Who else is up? Quant. I think Quant is a stable coin. Every time I look at Quant, it's either $80 or $100. It never moves. It's like one of those weeping angels. You don't look at it, it's $80. You blink and you look back, it's $100. And then you look back again, it's $80. That hasn't moved in about 4 years. And I love the project, but the price action just doesn't move. I would say, and I'm not going to give financial advice because that's not what we do, but I would be looking to be selling and buying on those two prices. Morpho is up a touch, and then we're down to the horrific gold price. 00 is down. Pump.Fun is down. Hype is down. Pudgy is down. These are not bad projects. OP is down. Hedera is down. Pith is down. Mantle is down. These are not bad projects. Avalanche is down. What else is in here? Trash Coin Pie is down. There's a lot of losers today. We're not gonna spend too much time on that. It's not that kind of stream. I'm not here to depress you on a Friday. That's not what we're here for. There's far more important things to talk about than the price of crypto on a crypto stream on Halloween morning. And I don't actually have any Halloween themed things to talk about. Now, that Martini guy, I can't play the audio because I'll get copyright struck. Jamie Dimon has just admitted he was wrong about Bitcoin. Now, again, we talk about top signals. If there was ever a top signal in crypto, it's Jamie Dimon saying he was wrong about Bitcoin. Now, what these types of people in suits are doing is they're not technically using the Bitcoin of this world or the Ethereum of this world, but they're using the technology in their banking systems to pass stable coins through from one area to another and basically speed everything up and all that kind of good stuff. So when you see Jamie Dimon, when you see all of these kinds of men in suits that are worth an awful lot of money, they're just going to use it for stable coins and they're going to sell you Bitcoin. And that's fair enough because that's all we want them for. Now, Maple Finance. We don't include them every week, but we want to include them as much as possible when we've got interesting news. They've just broken $5 billion assets under management this week, and they broke $2 million in revenue in October. Now, we talked about Plasma, and that's the Tether stablecoin blockchain. There is something called ARK, which I haven't got round to covering yet. ARK is Circle's own blockchain for stablecoins, and Maple Finance's USDC will be appearing on there as well. So there's a lot more to come from Maple. I've made lots and lots of videos about this, and I don't want to go on and on and on about it forever and a day. But what I would say to you is this. It's an expanding market. They are an expanding business in an expanding market. This looks like any pump and dump project you've ever seen. I'm very, very clear about that. But this is not the same thing. Just because the chart is up and to the right does not mean it's a pump and dump. It certainly isn't. It is built on institutional growth. They are simply filling the demand that is there. That is all they're doing. So again, congratulations to Maple Finance. Hats off to them for getting to $5 billion. I expected them to get to $6 billion by the end of the year. I think their target was 4. I'm going to be right. They're going to be wrong. I also said they'll probably hit $10 billion by the beginning of Q2. Or Q2, I think I've said, next year. So April, May, June next year, I'm expecting them to hit $10 billion assets under management. And again, more assets under management, more yield, bigger stable coins, bigger yield, dollar yielding assets, I think they're called nowadays. So there we go. Now, again, lots of text on the screen. Eleanor Terrett is talking about the crypto market structure bill. And we've had Trump since January. It's been an interesting ride. Been a roller coaster, as I always use in my comparisons. This stuff takes time. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve is still on the go. We have the market structure bill. We've got the Genius Act. We've got all of these things coming through. And when you see the term bipartisan, it normally means that everybody agrees that this is something that's going to benefit America. And that's probably tax, which is fair enough. But this is going to happen. The Genius Act is going to happen. The Strategic Bitcoin Reserve is going to happen. They're going to happen. They just don't happen when you want them to happen for your bags to be pumped. But either way, this is coming very, very soon. And the market structure wheels are back in motion following last week's industry roundtables. So again, I don't know if you remember last week, we talked a little bit about the fact there was a meeting. Everybody went to meet with the government and basically discuss what they want in these bills. That's what they do. And I'm happy with that. Now, this is massive, massive news as far as I'm concerned. I am keeping an eye on chat today as well. I'm going to try and keep an eye on chat. When I look at Ondo, I see the future of our industry. It says Chainlink's Sergey Nazarov building the infrastructure to tokenize trillions. Again, this man has aged 30 years in the last 4 years. He has built, when you talk about people that build in crypto, you think of maybe Vitalik, Anatoly, you might think of other people that have built individual projects. This guy has dragged himself over burning coals in the last 6 years to get Chainlink to where they are. And they've built CCIP, interoperability, one of the 3 tenets that we've got for crypto to be a success. He has fought the lonesome battle. I remember the Chainlink sailors, Chainlink army, I don't know what they call themselves, the Link army or something like that, calling him out for not doing it quickly enough, whatever it might be. And I have been saying for years, this is not something you can do overnight. Okay, it's not like watching Tony Hart paint a picture of a house. You have to build it. You need the foundations. You need the experts. You need the bricklayers. You need the plasterers. You need the electricians. He's built something in such a short space of time. The guy should be given a medal for the stuff that he's done. And now we're finally starting to see people appreciate him for what he's done. And not only that, he's started to pick what I would say are decent companies to partner with outside of the Visas, the MasterCards, and the things like that. Now, Ondo, of course, has big connections with BlackRock. They are going to be tokenizing stocks and shares. And again, one thing to bear in mind about all of this kind of stuff, and I've said this time and time again, if you take $1 trillion of assets from the real world and you bring them into Web3, that does not add $1 trillion to the market cap of crypto. That's just creative accountancy because it's the same asset, it's the same stock, it's the same share, it's the same T-bill, it's the same everything. When we see stable coins growing to grow the size of the market cap of crypto, they're backed by real money. It's just another interpretation of real money. But he has picked Ondo. I think that's a really good choice. Again, I always compare real world asset projects. But at the end of the day, Ondo and Maple Finance, it's apples and pears. Okay, Okay, they're not the same business, they're not in the same industry, but they fall under real world assets, so they still kind of get grouped together, but they're nothing like each other. I think, in fact, Ondo and Maple Finance will probably end up working together at some point in the future. But this is great news, and if you don't know anything about Chainlink and that man on your screen, you need to go and read about him, because he is one of the unsung heroes of crypto. And he's been vilified. He's been through it all. Let's not forget that. Now then, I am not going to go past the 31st of October without looking at that number there. Okay? We are down 3.5%. I hold out hope. That we turn green tonight. But it's a slim amount of hope. Okay? Now, if we have a red October, we do not want to look at 2018. And if we look at November, November hasn't been too green for us either. So, the only thing we can do probably is look at 2021, where we had the big pump, previous bull run, and then we had the runoff at the end of November. If we are delayed, I'm expecting a bumper November. And if we are delayed even further, then we're going to have a bumper December. But we've had a red October. I think pretty much we can guarantee we're going to have a red October. I don't think we're going to go above 113 or whatever, 114,000 just to get us into the green. I don't think we're going to do that today. It is a monthly close. It's the last Friday of October, but it's not a super important month. September's close, that was a quarterly close, and it was a monthly close. December will be monthly, quarterly, and yearly close. So that's important, but I don't see us holding out much hope. I do think we're going to have a blow-off top. And I do think we're going to have a blow-off top imminently. And it should have started yesterday, today. If we go back and look at similar months, starts on the 14th of October, starts on the 30th of October, starts on the 29th of October. That was another big date that I pulled out. And maybe we have to start from the bottom to work up. But crypto is a very fickle thing. And we can have it's all over and we're going to be rich in the same week. We could have $102,000 for Bitcoin on Sunday, and everybody applying for jobs at McDonald's on Sunday. And then by Friday of next week, we could be at 120,000 and people are all ordering their Ferraris. That's what crypto is like. That's what it's about. If you can't handle that and you're not in Bitcoin, that really is where you should be. Because if you're in alts, your alts have been wrecked all year. And that pretty much is how it goes. You should get your bags of alts now when they're at these prices. I've been saying September. You have your alts by the end of September. That's the golden rule. And then you just wait. You wait for the tsunami, and the tsunami will come. But like tsunamis, you don't know when it's going to come. But it's going to come, trust me. We are going to have a expansion at some point. Now, it's not October. It never was October, but it starts in October. And we've had green Octobers for the last 6 years. So October, we should have been green, and we're not. November, if we carry over from October, we will have a green November. But don't give up. Don't give up hope. It is not the end of the world. Not the end of the world at all. We are at the end of the journey as far as the cycle is concerned. But it's not over. It is not over. It was never going to be over in October. November is when I think it will be over. Maybe it's December. Now then, I've stuck this in. I don't know when I ended up following Simon. Must have been a long time ago. I don't follow him. I did follow him. Maybe I unfollowed him. I'm following you now, Simon. But in crypto for 9 years, and I didn't count how many times the market was filled with doubt or how many times I felt completely burnt out, wondering if I should just quit and walk away. Every single one of those times, it would have been the worst decision I could have made, and every single time the best decision was simply to keep going. Just staying in the game made me a winner by default. This time is no different. I will stay, and hence I will win. Now, we say a lot of things on this channel. Now, let me just make something very, very clear. We are not the best crypto streamers. We are not the best traders. We are not the best analysts. We are not the best at anything we do, okay? But we do. That's the difference. It's very easy to sit there and say something. It's very easy to sit there and have an opinion. It's a completely different thing sitting here and having an opinion. And what this lesson is here is that final line is the thing that I took out of this thing, because most of these things, if you've been in crypto past one cycle, let's look at how long I've been in crypto. I have seen us go to $18,000 and I didn't sell. And then we came all the way down to what, $3,000. I then saw us go up towards $69,000. I never sold Bitcoin. My biggest regret in the last bull run was not selling my alts, but I never sold Bitcoin. And then we came all the way down to $15,000. I didn't sell. We've gone all the way up to $126,000 for Bitcoin. I haven't sold any Bitcoin. And guess what? We're back now at $110,000. Whoopee-doo. Okay? If you are on this journey with Bitcoin, and let's focus on Bitcoin for a minute. If you're on this journey, simply staying in the game is going to make you win. There is a calculation, I think it's 4 years. I might be wrong, it might be 3. If you buy Bitcoin and you don't sell it for 4 years, you are always and will always be in a profit at any point in the previous 15, 14 years of Bitcoin. If you are in alts and not in Bitcoin, and you've been buying microcap after microcap after microcap, and you have been absolutely smashed this cycle, you learn from that. And what you learn is you learn that you need Bitcoin. I did the Maple Finance crash review last Saturday. What was the one most salient point that I asked you to take away from that? Institutions were using Ethereum, XRP, and Hyperliquid as collateral on their loans with Maple Finance. What did they do after the crash? They all sold the alts and they all bought Bitcoin because their clients have chosen the right collateral, which is Bitcoin. That's why I'm so adamant that you have to have some Bitcoin. Non-financial advice. There are some changes coming out, by the way, on the 17th of November. I've no idea how they're going to affect us, but there are some changes to what we can and we can't talk about on one of these channels. So we're going to have to be very, very careful what we say. But you will stay and you will win if you are holding the right projects. And that is all you need to learn. If he's been here for 9 years and I've been here since 2017, 8 years, he's been here a year longer than me. So he's been through exactly the same thing that I have, okay? I never felt burnt out. But when I was buying Bitcoin, as it was going down to past $3,000, I was thinking to myself, what am I doing buying Bitcoin at $3,000? This is absolute insanity. And I've said this little story before, I know. But conviction is what carries you through. And you have to have conviction that you're doing the right thing. Whether it be talking on Twitter, whether it be live streaming, you have to have conviction in what you are doing. And if you are wrong, you are wrong. And the world can see that you are wrong. But I am not wrong on Bitcoin. I am absolutely not wrong on Bitcoin. The same way I had conviction that the internet was going to be a success. I had conviction the internet was going to be a success. Oh dear. Oh my God. 32 years ago, I was convinced the internet was going to be a success. And it was. I've got the same conviction today in Bitcoin that I had in the internet 32 years ago. So I am all on board. I will stay, and hence I will win. Now, there are people out there that are going to say that's hopium. You know, it's hopium. It's not hopium. I'm just looking at the facts. You have Donald Trump, the president of America, talking about Bitcoin. You have Vladimir Putin talking about Bitcoin. You have Xi talking about Bitcoin. You have the 3 world leaders talking about Bitcoin. Nobody mentioned it 2 years ago, and now they're all talking about it in 2 years' time. And you're telling me that institutions, nation states are buying Bitcoin, but you think it's all over. Who's going to be wrong? Let's put it that way. Who's going to be wrong? Is it going to be you, or is it going to be the leader of the three biggest countries in the world? I'm sure Modi's talked about it in India. Modi, sorry, not Modi. These things happen. If you're really, really sad right now, and we go to $125,000 in 2 or 3 weeks' time, and you're really, 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 really happy, and you think you're going to go to the moon, that's great. But remember, Bitcoin doesn't care about the price, and you care a little bit too much about the price. So you buy and sell Bitcoin at the price you deserve. If you sell your Bitcoin at 128,000, congratulations. If you bought it at 20, 25,000 when you were watching us, and you've done a 6x on your Bitcoin, brilliant. That's your race done. Fine. If you're holding and you're holding and you're holding, you're going to get rewarded. And there's no other way to put it than that. Now, Bitcoin slips under 107,000 after Powell cast doubt on future rate cuts. Leverage liquidations topped 1.2 billion. Is ETH, Sol, and major altcoins plummeted. You know what? I wish they wouldn't do that. Because my eyes, I'm having my operation in 2.5 weeks' time. White light reflects like a white mist. So when a white screen pops up, it's like somebody's blinding me. Can't see a thing. Now, there is a lovely... I don't know what is that a 3D image? If I put 3D goggles on now, will that Bitcoin logo come out and hit me in the face? Crypto markets plunged on Thursday as mixed signals from the Fed, underwhelming results from the meeting between Trump and Xi dampened investors' appetite for risk assets. We're going to talk about that meeting in a minute. Bitcoin fell for a fourth straight day to 106.8. So is that where we came down to 106.8? Is that the lowest we came? Because that's the bottom of the range as far as that we've been in for months. Looking at major alts, ETH dropped another 6% to 3,760. Again, we call for 3,600, 3,800, and we kind of hit it. I just didn't think that we would be hitting it at the end of October. XRP, again at $2.50, I'm happy with that. Sol at 188, I'm happy with that. These are not prices to be super, super bearish about. When we start losing $3,000 for ETH, when we start losing $140 for Sol, when we start losing $95,000, $90,000 for Bitcoin, that is when I'm genuinely going to think that the 126,000 was the top. So until we get anywhere near that, I'm not that worried. And even if we do wick to 90,000 on Bitcoin, 95,000 on Bitcoin, I would expect a humongous move to the upside after that. We just have to wait and see. Now then, the top digital assets, a few of them were up. Yeah. December rate cut odds drop. A further reduction in the policy rate at the December meeting is not a foregone conclusion. Far from it, says Powell. The odds of a December cut have gone to 73%. Now, what is important, we're going to talk about Xi now in a second. What is important is, of course, the fact that on December the 1st, QT, quantitative tightening, ends on December the 1st. So that is the Fed sucking money out of the economy. Quantitative tightening is where they reduce their books. And QE, quantitative easing, is where they start. People call it the money printer. You know, money printer goes burr. That's what we want next. But QT is what we needed to do because the velocity of money coming into the system was just ridiculous. With 30% of the dollars in existence printed in 2021, was it? 2020, just after COVID. So the money supply had to be squeezed a little bit just to take that out. And inflation obviously ripped around the world. All of those things that we all know about and we talked about before, that's coming to an end. And I think the end of QT, quantitative tightening, I think that for me is the end of the Fed trying to slow down the economy and realizing the economy is coming to an end. You can't turn a tap on and off. That's just going to blow the pipes. So slowly reducing interest rates is the right thing to do, although I think he should have started in June. But who am I? Even though everybody now agrees with me. Should have started in June. It started later. The quantitative tightening is stopping on December the 1st. That, for me, again, I think maybe is a couple of months too late. The Fed always act too late, by the way. Historically, they've always acted 3 to 6 months too late. July, August, September. Yeah, they've acted 3 months too late on cutting rates. So I think that's an interesting thing to bear in mind when everybody says, well, they cut the rates at the right time. They don't cut the rates at the right time because the data they use is always out of date, number one. And number two, they're always overly conservative. And I don't think in this instance they need to be. The economy in America is growing based on the fact that everybody in America said the economy wasn't going to grow. Trump has been proved to be right several times now. And I'm not sitting here being pro-Trump, but he has been right. And when he's right, you've got to call him right. And when he's wrong, you've got to call him wrong. Now, China halts rare earth controls for 1 year after a successful Trump-Xi meeting. Now, this, let's see if I can highlight this. There we go. Now, this, the guy from The Big Short, can't remember what he's called, he talks about water being the next big commodity, the next big thing. And he means drinking water because only, I think, 3%, is it 3% of the world's water is drinkable? He thinks water is going to be the next big thing. I don't. I think this is the next big thing. I think rare earth is the next big thing. If you look at where rare earth materials are, they are in places like the Ukraine, where America are signing a deal on rare earth materials. China has got something like 60 or 70% of the world's known supply of rare earth metals is in China. So if China turns off rare earth materials, stops exporting them, that's going to impact everything. Everything that you've got, your laptop, your mobile phone, everything's got rare earth materials in it. If China has a stranglehold on that, it's going to really, really impact America. And they don't want that. So this is, everyone's saying this is a damp squid. This isn't a damp squid because it gives America another year to sort out Putin. Now, Putin knows that America wants the rare earth materials. So there's a lot of cat and mouse going on between these three at the minute. Global chess is going on. But this is positive because they literally turned it off 3 or 4 months ago. And we can say that this wasn't a successful deal or a successful meeting. It absolutely was a successful meeting because for me, that's more important than 40% tax on soybeans or whatever China has decided to buy as an act of good faith. So the Chinese have expressed optimism. State media initially downplayed the meeting, but increased coverage after talks began. So, again, for me, this is massively important. This was always going to be the big one. The China-American deal was always going to be the big one. And I think, again, like everything that you read, even Sean Dyche, the new manager of Nottingham Forest, was talking about Man United the other day. And he said something, and it got clipped. And it was then basically used to say that Amorim did X, Y, or Z. And he went out and said, you guys just clickbait people. That's all you are. That's your entire career is now clickbaiting people because clicks equal revenue. And unfortunately, we live in a world of clickbait where I could make a 60-second video. And in the title of my 60-second video, I could say Bitcoin is going to zero. If I made 2 videos and said Bitcoin is going to zero and Bitcoin is going to $113,000, which one will people watch? Exactly. So, clickbait works. And when you see Trump issue tariffs, they're not going to say, on the whole, these are a good thing to do because we're rebalancing the books and it's going to be beneficial for America in the future. No, they're going to say, Trump global meltdown. And you read this, and if you've got a low IQ or even a mid IQ, you're going to believe it. And the truth is never what you're told anymore. That's where I think reporting has fallen off the edge of a cliff. It's about clickbait nowadays. It's not about reporting, and I find it absolutely abhorrent. Now, Ethereum developers lock in, and I can't help but saying, I wish it was December the 4th, because I could say for Saka, anyway. The upgrade is December the 3rd, which I believe is about 5 weeks from today. The move kicks off the countdown to Ethereum's second hard fork of 2025. Developers have officially inked in the long-awaited upgrade. The move kicks off the countdown. We talked about that. The upgrade headline feature is Peer DAS, one of 12 improvements included in the release. The developers, is it just going to constantly repeat the same thing? over and over again. There we go. So PIRDAS allows validators to verify only portions of data rather than the entire blobs of data, significantly reducing bandwidth requirements and cutting costs for both validators and Layer 2 networks. This will make Ethereum faster and cheaper, both for users making transactions and developers building on the networks. The decision was finalized during the All-Core Developer Consensus Layer ACDC. You gotta love it. See, this is the difference between Web3 and traditional finance. Traditional finance people will come out and they will call it banking governance and development future-proofing roadmaps, and they'll call it ADFGS, which means absolutely nothing to anybody. You get a load of nerds in a room. What we're going to call this, let's call it Fosaka or Fosaka, and whichever way you say that, it sounds wrong. And then they have a meeting, and they call the meeting ACDC. And that's why Web3, for me, is way more interesting than covering anything else. 2 days after the upgrade was successfully deployed on Hudi, the third and final testnet, without any issues. The upgrade will activate on Ethereum mainnet with the block reaches 13,164 and change, expected to occur at basically 10 to 10 on December the 3rd. Let's go ahead and do this, said Alex Stokes, an Ethereum Foundation researcher who leads up the ACDC calls. This was a big lift to get this together by this point in time, so thanks everybody for that. It's really a cool fork. Again, this is a big one. The one thing I always say about stuff like this is just because it's faster and cheaper, it doesn't necessarily mean it's better for the blockchain, because cutting costs and racing to zero is not going to be the best thing to do, is it? Now, if you're going to look at going to Harrods in London and going to Lidl for your food, you go to Lidl because the food is cheaper, there are more of them, there is more throughput, and there is more stock turnover, therefore the prices are cheaper. If you want quality, if you want an organic, hand-reared calf in the Scottish Highlands that's got a name, it's got a photograph, and it's called Bessin, it wore a scarf. If you want one of those burgers, it's going to cost you considerably more. And in theory, the quality of that burger is better than buying a burger from Lidl. You take your choice. Okay, do you want to eat Bessie from the Scottish Highlands, or do you want to eat Germantrude from a factory in Germany? They're your choices. And with Ethereum, I don't want this to be a race to zero. I want them to continue to make money, to continue to upgrade the blockchain and make it add value to the customer, but keep themselves going, be profitable. That's what I care about. I don't want them making obscene fees, but they have to make fees to keep the network running. So although cheaper is better and speed and efficiency is a lot better, do it sensibly. Don't try and compete with Solana. That's what I would say. And I'm all for I'm all for it going faster, but I'm also careful that I don't want it to just be so quick and so cheap that they're making $5,000 a day in network fees and it's costing them $100,000 a day to keep the blockchain going. Because again, everybody has to make profit. If you get something for free, then you are the product. That's a very old saying in this world. That's when you see Instagram is free, Facebook is free, whatever else. X, I suppose, is free nowadays, because you are the product. You are what people sell to. So we don't want completely free. Now, Solana steps into Wall Street arena. Grayscale ETF launches on the New York Stock Exchange. We kind of covered this a little bit. There's another lovely little. Have they not even bothered? Did it even use the Solana logo on this picture? Look at that man there. And that shield of things. And he's got a little spiky thing in his hand as well. Doesn't that look brave? And there's a little bull behind him. Great for them. Grayscale Investments kicked off trading of a new Solana-focused ETF on Wednesday, adding a staking feature that passes network rewards to investors. This is what we have been asking for, and hopefully now we have it. So what does this mean? It means if we have staking features on Solana, we will be getting staking features on Ethereum. That's the next play for me. That was supposed to be the bullish narrative that pushed Ethereum's demand above $4,000. We went above $4,000 and we still don't have it live. I think long term, you are going to see people buying Bitcoin because it's an inflation hedge and it's a store of value. And you will see people buying Grayscale Grayscale Trust. Grayscale ETFs of Solana, of Ethereum. You'll probably get it with others as well. I know they're doing Hedera. I think that's got some kind of staking rewards going on as well. So I think the staking element of ETFs is, it should have happened. It should have happened when the Ethereum ETF went live. But of course, we had Gary the Hitman Gensler, didn't we? Choke point Gary. So this has now gone live from closed end trust to ETF. This is, again, Grayscale, for those of you that don't know, they were the OGs. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, they were the OGs. Before anybody else was in crypto, before anybody TradFi was in crypto, before BlackRocks were here, they were the ones. They were our hope. Anakin. So the Grayscale Solana ticker offering investors exposure to SOL, one of the fastest growing digital assets. Convenient SOL exposure paired with staking benefits, exposure to a high-speed, low-cost blockchain. Fantastic. This is what we wanted. Now, again, as we've said with a lot of these things, I don't know if you remember, last December and November, I sat here and I told you the Ethereum ETF is doing incredibly well. It's just not reflecting in the price. And months and months and months I went on telling you that you can't compare the Bitcoin ETF to the Ethereum ETF. I'm going to sit here today and tell you the same thing. The Solana ETF is not going to do the same numbers as Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's not. But you also have to remember the Bitcoin and Ethereum market caps are substantially higher. I think Ethereum is what now? What's Ethereum at? 400 billion? I don't know. You know, I should know these things. There we go. So Bitcoin is at 2.2 billion. Ethereum is at 400. Let's call it 500 billion for the sake of argument. Solana is 100 billion. So what you need to do is you say, right, okay, well, if there is $1 billion a day going into Ethereum, pro rata, you would expect $200 million a day to go into Solana. And that's a kind of fair comparison, in my opinion. The same with Bitcoin will always be 5 or 6 times higher than Ethereum. And what I was trying to point out in November and December last year is the amount of money going into the Ethereum ETFs was actually higher proportionally than that going into Bitcoin. So Ethereum's ETF was doing better than Bitcoin's. It's just everybody was looking at the number. That's the difference. Look at the comparative size of these blockchains, the value of these blockchains, the market caps, and then look at the money flowing in. Now, I think with Solana, somebody mentioned $64 million in its first day. But we're going to have to give it a week for these numbers to start coming through so we can really see how well the Solana ETF is going. And the other thing to bear in mind, the last thing before we move on, is please bear in mind, the more and more ETFs we get, in my opinion, the less impact they will have. And what I mean by that is, after we've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, maybe BNB and Cardano, that's 6. After those, I don't think individual ETFs are going to make a massive difference, in my opinion. I think that's pretty much it. The impact of Bitcoin was seismic. The impact of Ethereum, nowhere near that of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was the first. And I think we're going to see volume in Solana because it's only the third one. I know we've got others knocking around. There's an XRP alternative knocking around, and I know we've got Hedera coming as well. But really, when it comes down to it, if you were to say to me, which 3 ETFs do I go and buy? I would still tell you to go and buy Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. They would be my 3. Now, I've also said, and I'll reiterate that point for those of you that never heard me say it, I think an ETF portfolio of crypto is not a bad idea. Not financial advice. And what I mean is, holding crypto that is only holding crypto of assets that have ETFs might not be a bad idea. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, Cardano, Hedera, Litecoin, for example, holding them long term might not be a bad idea. It's not what I'm doing, but it might not be a bad idea. Right then, Hype moves closer to $50 after additional buybacks. This was short-lived, this article, because obviously the price has moved down again, as is everything else. I think Hype in this cycle will do really well getting towards $100. I think if you got into hype a while ago at $15, $20, $25, I'd be looking to get out like higher than where we are now, obviously, but not too much higher than where we are now. Not financial advice. I don't know if I have to keep saying that anymore. But we kind of have done the same thing with hype. We don't need to read into this. I just wanted to bring out the point of the $50 thing. The reason I want to point this out is because we've done this a few times. Do you remember when Toncoin was 8th and I said, ain't going to happen, it's going to fall away, and it did? Do you remember when I said Sui wasn't going to break into the top 10 for a while, and it ran all the way up, and now it's come all the way back down again? I mean, 235 is not a bad price for Sui. And then you had Raoul Pal, you had Cassie, Sui, you had loads of people telling you it was going to go to $1,100. And guess what? It never did. Because the velocity and the speed of growth is great when you're at a $1 or $2 billion asset. But let's just bear in mind, look at the OGs, right? Look at the gap between 11th and 10th. It's like the Premier League. You've got 4 really, really good sides and then everybody else. Look at La Liga. You've probably got 3 really, really good teams in La Liga and then everybody else. In crypto, you have 8 assets. And of those 8 assets, I personally detest one and don't like another one. So there's 6 assets. Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, XRP, Solana, and Cardano. You have 6 assets out of the 20,000 cryptos that are out there. We can see these coins absolutely smash all of these numbers. Look, it's at 2 billion, it's at 4 billion, it's at 6 billion. And then you hit a wall. And that wall is Cardano. Like maybe sometimes it's Tron, sometimes it's Cardano, but that's the wall. And I don't see Hyperliquid going to $300 or $400. Look at where we are now. We're at $45. Let's say it's at $50 for argument's sake. It's going to have to double to $100 to move up to Dogecoin's price. I don't think Dogecoin should be there, by the way. I think if I had one of those gloves, you know, with all the little things on, I'd do that and there'd be no Dogecoin. It'd be gone. Okay? And maybe the meme coins would go with it. I don't know, but Doge wouldn't be there. So then maybe Hype would be 10th. If we take out the stable coins, we can fudge this as much as we want. If we take out the stable coins, then Hype and Chainlink make up a top 10. I think that's a pretty brilliant top 10 with the stable coins gone and Hyperliquid and Chainlink added. I think that's a great top 10. But look at where it's run to and where it's actually gassed out. It gassed out at $60 and now it's stuck. Do we honestly going to the point where the actual main projects are pulling away from everything else? Because I think we are. I don't think Chainlink, by the way, is ever going to be a top 4 or a top 3 project. Doesn't mean I don't love it. I think it's brilliant, but be realistic. You know, look at the Nvidias and the Apples and those companies. Just because I like alternative companies more doesn't mean they're ever going to be worth more than Apple or Nvidia. Over time, Apple and Nvidia won't be there, by the way. You're going to see maybe Sam Altman's company joining that top list of companies. Companies change over time. Technology changes. They lose their positions. Talked about this the other day with IBM. Chainlink staying in 12th or 10th position or around here for the next 5 years is exactly perfectly fine. But I don't think Hype is going to break $100 anytime soon, and it's not going to break the top 10. I do think it could go past Dogecoin, but Dogecoin is just, I don't know why Dogecoin is there. It's like my nemesis Dogecoin. I don't want it there. I don't like it. I don't like it at all, but it's there. Now then, let me very quickly, you know what I haven't done? I haven't checked chat for so long. I've just been ranting. I'm waiting for the Black Friday clearance. Close the month above 110k and send it back up, says KB. Good call. Then crash or liquidity grab. Michael Berry. Oh yeah, flash crash or liquidity grab. Michael Berry. That was it. Michael Berry. He's the guy that says that water is the next big commodity to get into. Now I'm going to let you into a little bit of alpha, right? There is. Good morning, Tariq, and you don't have to apologise. Why am I late today? I'm not late, Tariq. with the clocks moved. We live in medieval times in England, okay? And in medieval times, we still put the clocks back and forth. And I know we need to get rid of it, I know. But basically, this isn't 11 o'clock or whatever time it is now, 12 o'clock, is it? It's, I don't know what time it is, 11 o'clock. We move the clocks twice a year. I don't know why we do it. But anyway, Michael Berry is the one talking about water. Go and have a look at companies that explore for precious metals, especially precious metals that are involved in the making of computer-related equipment and AI and stuff like that, right? I haven't heard this from anybody. It's not like I'm sitting here regurgitating somebody else. But look at what Russia, China, and America are fighting over. They're fighting over rare earth metals. Companies that find them, you know, let's say somebody discovers a mine or some kind of material off the coast of Wales, right? Dafydd mining find a rare earth metal. Dafydd mining is going to be worth a fortune if they've got them. Captain Choke Point, we'll call him. I was saying, well, the UK are doing this right. They've opened it up to industry. What does industry want to do? They've then brought in a set of rules, and you're always going to bring in tight rules to begin with and then release them. I don't think they've released them too long down the line. Bitcoin's at $120,000. I don't think it's too late for people to get in and buy Bitcoin. I wouldn't say it was a crypto reversal either. I think what they do is they launch a product, they monitor it, they make sure it works, and then they allow them to release to the public. And I have no problem with that. I've got no problem with that at all. I think they've done this right. So if you're in the UK, you can now go and get yourself an ETN in the UK. And the fees are incredibly low, and you can get them probably through various different financial industries in the UK. I'm not going to talk too much about that because we're on Binance and don't want to talk about anything outside of Binance. And if you are on Binance and you can get these ETNs into your ISAs, I don't know if they can go into your ISAs. I think there are different types of ISAs. When I left the UK, there was two ISAs. There was cash ISA, you might as well set fire to your money, and then there was a stocks ISA where you could buy stocks and shares. And I think they've brought in a third one now, haven't they? Is it called a tech ISA or emerging markets or emerging tech ISA? I don't know what it's called. But you can do whatever you want in that, pretty much within reason. If you can add them and you get a cash-free ISA, fair enough. But that depends if Rachel Reeves wants to get her hands on your ISA. She wants to get her hands on everything, doesn't she? Because she's clueless. Western Union files trademark for WOOZD. A day after USDPT stablecoin reveal. I don't know what any of these. We're back to dealing with Web 2 people, aren't we? WOOZD. An analyst told Decrypt that WOOZD could be the public-facing ticker for symbol USDPT. Remains the regulatory and issuance claim. Western Union said on Wednesday that the publicly announced new coin would be called this. The WOOZD trademark application has been reviewed by the US Patent and Trademark Office. Nobody's going to need WOOZD. Really, are they? The payment giant has said it plans to introduce a digital asset network. Western Union has applied to this, not the other. Now, funny story about Western Union is that they fleece their customers. And the way they do it is you're in London and you want to send $100 or $1,000 to your family in Nigeria, for example. You walk into a Western Union and you hand over, I think it's like 15% fees. So you pay them $1,000 and your family in Nigeria gets $850 minus processing fees in Nigeria. It's probably another $20 or $30. But they make a fortune. They fleece their clients. And we used to use Western Union. People who wanted to pay for our services didn't have credit cards, so they'd send us Western Union checks, I suppose you'd call them. And then we would go in to a Western Union office and we'd deposit them, and then they give us the funds in cash, pay us in cash. It's quite an old, archaic system. And they've moved into Web3, and they want to build this platform, the Digital Asset Network. Now, I'm going to let you into a secret. I don't believe this is ever going to work. I think it's going to fall flat on its face. I think Western Union are everything that crypto is trying to solve. If you are in Nigeria or a lot of other African states, you're not allowed bank accounts because you're just not. And I think 70% of Africa, or it's some really high number, are not allowed bank accounts, not given bank accounts, considered high risk, whatever you want to call it. And then crypto comes along with wallets that sit on your mobile phone. And then you go to a shop to buy a bottle of Coke and you pay for it on the Bitcoin Lightning Network. And you drink your bottle of Coke. And then you go and do your day's work and the guy pays you, let's say, $50 for your day's work. And he pays you on the Bitcoin Lightning Network. And then you go and do the weekly shopping, $25, Bitcoin Lightning Network. You don't need a bank. And you don't need Western Union. And you're in London and you've got your $1,000 and your family are in, you know, they need the mortgage paying or whatever it might be. You send your $1,000. They get $999 and probably about 90 cents of that. Okay? So where does Western Union fit into this? I'm not having a dig at Western Union. I'm just saying crypto is everything to everybody. Western Union is basically taxing the poorest people in society, income-wise, poorest people in society. And the sooner that likes of Western Union disappear, the better, in my opinion. And that is only my opinion, and I'm here to give you my opinion. But if I was going to recommend to families in Nigeria and families in London, I would say go and get a Phantom wallet. At your end, Phantom wallet at your end. And I would use Solana. There are alternatives, obviously the Bitcoin Lightning Network. There's apps that do that, fine, whatever, go and do that. But I think Solana is the one for me. And I think Western Union will die. I think they will die out. And I think this is their last great throw of the dice to create a stable coin that people will send money back and forth. And the only way they're going to survive is if protectionist governments come in and say you have to use WUSD, and then they introduce transaction fees on that. But apart from that, I hope they disappear into the dust and they never show their faces again. But that is my opinion. And as I say, I'm allowed to have my opinion. Now then, it is 20 seconds to 12. Something about the WUSD name is not giving me good vibes. It's not. Well, it's Halloween, isn't it? I kind of included it because it's like WUSD. Kind of like Halloween. It's probably the most Halloween-y thing we've got. Is the podcast lagging? It probably is. It probably is. There's been problems with streaming in certain places for a long time. Probably for about the last week. And I've noticed it on other people's streams as well. So I don't think it's just us. So I don't. I'm stuck on the mining rights. Let me go and check. Let's see where I'm up to. I've got it playing in the background. No, I can see the side of my big balding head, so I think we're okay. Bitcoin is consolidating. Absolutely agreed. Right, listen, I have to go. I've got to go meet somebody at my storeroom. I'm probably going to do some form of stream tomorrow on Binance and probably on YouTube as well. We did an interview with Wham, which is on the BSC chain, on the Solana chain and things like that. So we're going to do... Fine. So we're going to go and probably do a live stream of the interview and then talk a little bit about it. But the issue is the interview is an hour and 15 minutes, which means we probably need 2 hours to do the beginning and the end of the stream. And that's going to be a bit of a push. So I don't know when we're going to do it, but we're going to live stream the interview with Danny from Wham. And it's been a good interview. The first interview was very good. That was with Dark Matter Esports. This is with an AI gaming platform. They've been around for 3 or 4 years, I think. Good interview. The Oracle did it. The Oracle has another interview lined up for Monday. So that will be an interesting one as well. But anyway, have a great weekend. I will see you all on either tomorrow or on Monday. Don't worry about the price. The price will always go up over a prolonged period of time. We may have seen the bottom at 106.8. We may go back to 113, 114, and then come back straight back down to 106.8. We're range bound at the minute. Don't panic about it. Don't worry about it. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy Halloween. Watch some horror films. And I have some competitions running over the weekend. I've got one for Nottingham Forest versus Manchester United. predict the score, and you'll win some crypto. That's going to be on my X account, which I don't think I'm allowed to mention, but it is on my Binance account if you want to go and check that out. Anyway, have a good weekend. Thank you, KB. Thank you, Snake. Thank you, Tariq. Thank you to everybody else that's in chat, and I will see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.